All right, we got a video from Defunctland, the history of Action Park. I don't know what Action Park is. Is it like a Six Flags kind of thing? I don't know. Let's check it out.
New and improved and open once again.
Fantastic. Anna Gilligan is there this morning. Hello, Anna.
Hi, guys. Yeah,
Oh.
you're seeing some guys jump off the Tarzan jump here at Action Park. It's been closed since 1996. They reopened it on June 14th. I'm here with the owner, Andrew Mulville.
14th, what year?
The son of the man who founded it. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for coming out. What a day we have. It's beautiful here at Action Park.
Has it been like 10 years?
You because Action Park got a bit of a reputation.
35 horror stories that prove Action Park was the most dangerous park ever. Shocking true story of America's most dangerous theme park. A place where minors could drink alcohol freely and people of any age could be seriously hurt. Jeez, what the... Okay, alright. Wait a minute. Oh, never mind. I was looking. Johnny Knoxville made a movie a few years ago. I was looking it up. Action Point. I wonder if this was based off of Action Park. Was inspired by. Yeah, the movie was inspired by and named after the real park. Huh. Okay. Interesting. I didn't see the movie, but yeah, these pictures are kind of bringing back memories of the trailer.
Some people got injured.
Man drowns in pool.
That was 30 years ago. The world has changed. I mean, when my dad started the park, he was the guy inventing the rides and bringing inventors
This
in.
was in like 2010.
Now it's highly regulated. Everything's engineered.
I love Action Park because it's so beautiful.
Alpine slide.
The year is 1976. Gene Mulvihill, the head of entertainment company Great American Recreation, has added a new attraction to Vernon, New Jersey's Vernon Valley Ski Resort. Two brand new Alpine slides were installed to keep business up in the off-season. An Alpine slide is a one-person cart ride, in which the rider rides down a hill on a smooth track.
Those are cool.
The rider has a brake lever in between their legs, giving them complete control of their speed. The attraction had become popular for ski resorts in the late 70s, and Vernon Valley Ski Resort's Alpine slide was advertised as an attraction for all ages, claiming, "We've had grandfathers and we've had kids of kindergarten age coming down our runs alone." I also have a picture showing a mother controlling the sled with an infant in her arms. It's that easy. After the success of the slide, Mulvihill went forward with his plans to expand the ski resort into a water park during the off-season. He added 2 water slides and a racetrack, and more slides, a softball field, a tennis court, and a swimming pool were added shortly thereafter. The Vernon Valley Summer Park was rebranded to Action Park, a thrilling amusement park where you control the action. More slides and rides were added, and they began their big marketing push to draw audiences into their new water park.
Okay.
Just go to Action Park. There's no other park like it.
When it's hot out, this is a great place to spend the day with your family. So lots of big things for little kids to do. I love Action Park because it's so beautiful.
It's like coming to Broadway. It's wonderful.
Race like a pro. It's great. These are the most amazing rides in the world. I love it here.
There's nothing in the world like Action Park.
The park was revolutionary.
Hell yeah.
Not only was it one of the first
When did it
water
come out?
parks of its
This is a 94.
The park was revolutionary.
I don't know.
Not only was it one of the first water parks of its kind in the United States, but it also marketed itself as
That
the
looks sick.
biggest. It was eventually home to
As the safest?
of its kind in the United States, but it also marketed itself as the biggest.
Oh, the
It was
biggest.
eventually
I was
home
about to say.
75 rides, 40 of which were water slides. Action Park was split into 3 themed lands. The first was
Motor World.
Motor World consisted of 3 types of attractions: land, water, and air rides. On land was the popular battle action tanks. For an additional fee, guests could ride inside tanks equipped with tennis ball cannons. The goal was to shoot the other tanks in the caged area on one of their targets, disabling their cannons for 15 seconds. Those that chose to ride the tanks were allotted 5 minutes to do so, and those that did not want to ride could pay to use a stationary cannon from the outside. Maintenance employees attempting to fix broken down tanks would be subject to fire from the rowdy guests, making the attraction a nightmare to work at. The other two land-based
that's a good
attractions
point.
were the Lola cars and the Super Go-Karts, both of which were kart race attractions. The Super Go-Karts were driven on a small loop. The carts themselves were designed to max out at 20 miles per hour, but the employees found that sticking a tennis ball in the governor device allowed the cart to go as fast as possible, with the new maximum speed being around 50 miles an hour.
Holy shit,
Head-on
that's an
collisions
increase.
frequently sent guests to the hospital, and the fumes from the engines overwhelmed
50.
riders at times. The Lolo cars were mini open cockpit race cars
that's
driven on a
cool.
longer track, and they cost an additional charge to ride.
Yeah.
Their maximum speed could also be tampered with by park employees. These were also used after hours by the workers, sometimes being taken off the track and driven on the nearby highway. There were two water rides
Why?
in the world. The super speedboats were driven in a small circle around an island in a pond.
Oh, wow.
A pond that also had a large population of snakes in it. The guests would often attempt to bump nearby
Jesus.
boats, as if they were on Motor World's other water attraction, bumper boats. These were boats placed in a small pool and were designed to withstand guests crashing into one another. These were known to leak gasoline, which once required a guest to be examined after too much fuel leaked on their skin.
Ugh.
The boats were also incredibly small, and riders with long legs had to position their feet off
I
the
could
side of
see
the boat to
falling
fit.
out of that
This
easily.
led to injuries and bone fractures after collisions. Finally, Motor World had two airbase attractions. One was Space Shot, which was a
Oh
typical
god, dude. Oh god. Knowing like the history of Action Park and like seeing these like sky attractions or whatever, oh, that gives me anxiety.
drop tower ride, and it was one of the safest rides at the park.
Oh, really?
Given
Okay.
it was only
Is a relative term. In this case, meaning immediately life threat. I would think the opposite for like one of these kind of rides.
open for Action Park's last operating year. The second air ride was another upcharge attraction, Slingshot, which was also fairly safe.
Oh god.
This ride was a common amusement park
Oh,
cargo
God,
ride,
Jesus
in which
Christ.
guests were shot up on two bungee cords and flipped upside down as they flew through the air.
I would do. It's not that I'm afraid of these kind of rides. It's just I get motion sickness like a motherfucker. So
There's no doubt that Motor World had its dangerous attractions, but this is just the beginning of what Action Park has in store. Another section of the park was... Many non-water-based attractions were located in their own section of the park, sometimes labeled the Alpine Center. These included the aforementioned Alpine slides, as well as a bungee jump titled the Snapple Snap Up Whippersnapper Ride.
the Snapple Snap Up Whippersnapper ride. Okay, interesting. I have no idea where they landed a lucrative Snapple project, or this was an oddly named
Originally
attraction.
having 2 jump stations and then later 4, guests could jump off the tower for an additional fee. A skate park also had a short run at Action Park. It was poorly designed, as it was surrounded by
Skate park was only
concrete
for
and
one
had
summer.
uneven edges, which led to many injuries during its existence.
Huh.
Interestingly, Action Park also had an attraction entitled the Action Park Gladiator Challenge, partially based off of the popular American Gladiators TV show. This included obstacle courses and jousting matches against the Action Park Gladiators.
Okay,
Finally,
cool.
Action Park had its own monorail called the Transmobile. This went to the Ski Lodge, the Alpine Center, and to Motor World. So far, Action Park has proved to be dangerous, but where are the absolutely terrifying rides? Where are the rides that are so insane that their mere
God.
existence is unbelievable? Moreover, where are the water slides?
It's the water slides that were the most
This section
dangerous.
put the action in Action Park. Waterworld had it all. It was home to the tidal wave pool, a 100 feet by 200 feet pool that could hold
wave pools
anywhere
are cool.
between 500 and 1,000
Dude, I love water parks. Oh god, water parks are so fun.
people. The pool's floor was slanted, and the further a guest went in it, the deeper it got. Waves went 20 minutes on, 10 minutes off, and they could reach a height of over 3 feet. This was challenging for swimmers of all skill
Oh, wow.
levels, as the
That
pool
is
was
pretty
hard
big.
to read and the fresh water was more difficult to swim in than salt water. A dozen lifeguards were on duty at the pool, and they would have to save around 30 people on a busy day.
Really?
The Tarzan Swing was a heavily advertised attraction in which guests would swing on a 20-foot cable over a pool. This spring-fed pool was so cool that lifeguards would have to rescue guests that could not swim after the shock of the cold water. This was also a popular attraction for men to pull down their pants or women to pull up their tops for the line of people to see.
What
The
the
appropriately
fuck?
named
Okay.
Aqua Scoot gave guests a sled, with which they would slide down an assembly line style roller coaster, hurtling them toward a shallow pool that they would skip across. If the guest was not in an ideal position, it would get caught under the water, sending the rider crashing forward. There were originally
Ooh.
a pair of these slides, each 30 feet long, but a third slide was eventually added. The diving cliffs had 2 jumping bases, one 23 feet and the other
diving
18 feet
cliffs?
tall,
Wow.
with the pool below being 16 feet. The pool was also for non-jumpers, some of which were unaware of the cliffs, which resulted in collisions.
Yeah, I
There
could
was
see
only
that.
one lifeguard on duty, who had to work extra hard to make sure that no one was at the bottom of the pool. The super speed water slides, also known as Geronimo Falls, were a pair of high-speed vertical water
Holy
slides.
shit, that
One
is
of them was
steep.
steeper than the other, and both were dangerous. Near these was the safer Kamikaze, which was a more traditional tube slide. The kayak experience was pretty self-explanatory, and used underwater fans to simulate water rapids. This was dangerous, but that goes without saying at this point. A similar ride, the Roaring Rapids, allowed guests to ride in a
the guy got stuck and he had to pull him out.
A similar ride, the Roaring Rapids, allowed guests to ride in a one or two person raft down a similar river.
Again.
The Surf Hill had riders slide down a multi-laned, multi-hill slide on a mat. Riders could easily cross over to the adjacent lanes and cause collisions. And the seventh hill, nicknamed the Backbreaker, had an additional hump that would send riders flying, resulting in injury.
Oh!
The Colorado River ride was
what the fuck? Ow!
Had an additional hump that would send riders flying, resulting in injury.
Jesus.
The Colorado River ride was another raft ride.
Yeah, I can see that causing some injuries.
Up to 4 people, and it went through the wooded area of the park. At one point, the riders would come to a fork in the river and had to choose between 2 paths. The first path took guests under a waterfall and a series of tunnels. The second path included a waterfall and another fork, with one path being steeper than the other. The ride also included a foot-tall jump that would allow riders and their raft a short airtime. The Aerodonium was a skydiving simulator that caused injuries when guests would try to stop their falls with their arms. Waterworld also had a variety of other typical water slides and pools that were less notable, but there is one in particular that has yet to be mentioned. This is the attraction that made Action Park the most infamous, the Cannonball Loop. A tubed water slide with a vertical loop, similar to that of
my god, dude.
Roller coaster. It was rumored that during the testing of the attraction, Mulvihill offered $100 to employees who were willing to try it. Test dummies apparently came out of the loop without their heads.
Oh, no shot, dude. Really? And they still opened it? That's incredible. Holy fuck.
When it was open, guests would be weighed, hosed down, and given a set of instructions to decrease the possibility of injury. A hatch was added to the top of the loop to assist stuck riders that could not make it all the way through the slide. Many guests that completed the loop would come out at the bottom, suffering from bloody noses or other injuries, either from hitting the top of the loop or the impact on the way down. The Cannonball Loop was indicative of a larger issue with Action Park, as many of the other attractions were poorly crafted by designers that were less than engineers, and most were designed to minimize cost rather than maximize safety. The rides became even more dangerous when paired with the fact that the park sold alcohol at many of the convenience stands, often to minors. There was even a microbrewery near Motor World. Many of the guests visiting the inexpensive—
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, god, just fucking a bunch of sloshed park attendees driving their motor carts, crash into each other. Yeah, I could see that being pretty dangerous.
Park came from low-income areas and did not have the necessary swimming skills to navigate some of the attractions and pools.
That looks like a fucking disaster. What is going on there?
It did not have the necessary swimming skills to navigate some of the attractions and pools. Action Park also heavily marketed to Spanish populations, but there were no translations or translators for the guests when they visited, so explaining safety instructions was virtually impossible.
Where was this?
You already know that Action Park has the most innovative and exciting rides. The Alpine Slide.
Where is Action Park?
And spectacular water rides. But Action Park means more than just great rides. It means super live shows,
New Jersey,
fantastic summer festivals, and scrumptious food and drink, including an authentic German brewery. Come to Action Park because the rides aren't the only thing that's great. Labor Day Polish Festival, September 6th and 7th.
Polish Festival.
The majority of those employees were teenagers and were not equipped to handle the rowdy guests at the park. So on any given day, you could have an overcrowded water park filled with drunk teenagers that couldn't swim, riding shoddily built attractions supervised by teenagers that may or may not be able to communicate with them. It is no wonder what happened next.
Oh god.
On July 8th, 1980, a male employee was riding the Alpine Slide when his cart went off the track. He hit his head on a rock during the crash, killing him.
Jesus.
He was only 19. 2 years later, on July 24th, 1982, a 15-year-old guest was overcome by the waves of the tidal wave pool and drowned. On August 1st, a mere week later, a 27-year-old guest was riding the kayak experience when he was trying to re-enter his kayak after falling out. When doing this, he made contact with the live wiring that powered the underwater fans. The electrocution sent him into cardiac arrest, and he passed after being rushed to the hospital. 2 years later, in 1984, a guest died on the Tarzan swing after a heart attack, supposedly due to the unexpected shock from the cold water. That same year, on August 27th, a 20-year-old drowned in the tidal wave pool. And on July 19th, 1987, another guest drowned there.
Again!
Named the Grave Pool. These deaths are tragic, and often overshadowed by the lunacy and legacy of Action Park. Interestingly enough, Action Park was able to avoid many lawsuits with these deaths and many other injuries, due in part to its reputation, and also the lax regulations New Jersey had for amusement and water parks. Great American Recreation was even able to expand the Action Park brand to other parts of the country, opening Pocono Action Park in Tannersville, Pennsylvania in 1980, and Action Mountain in Pine Hill, New Jersey in 1984.
Get wet at Action Mountain. Feel the thrill as you zoom through the black hole. Spin and splash on our bumper boats. While the kids play in our fun-filled kiddie area, cool off in our huge swimming pool, or race around the Grand Prix track. Get on any of our action-packed rides at Action Mountain in Pine Hill, New Jersey. It's awesome!
Pocono Action Park had many repeat attractions as Action Park, and was closed in 1991. Action Mountain ran into some financial difficulties with the IRS and the town it was located in, and was closed in 1986. So why did the original Action Park close? While Action Park and Mulvihill were able to avoid lawsuits with many of the accidents and deaths, the 2 deaths in 1984 stemmed cases that rightfully plagued the park with a variety of legal problems. Mulvihill eventually pled guilty to 5 charges of insurance fraud. He and his associates claimed that the park saw over 1 million guests a year, and therefore the death toll was comparatively low. The local ER, on the other hand, said that they would have to treat 5 to 10 guests on some days. In response to the high amount of guests visiting the hospital, Action Park bought Vernon, New Jersey new ambulances. Despite all of these issues, the downfall of Action Park wouldn't come until 1996, and it was actually due to Great American Recreation's financial issues and not the park itself. On September 2nd, 1996, Action Park ended its final season, still with the hope that it would reopen the next year. However, Great American Recreation's bankruptcy made it impossible for Action Park to continue operations, so it didn't reopen. After this, the ski resort and Action Park were handed from investor to investor, undergoing renovations for 2 years before reopening in 1998 as Mountain Creek. Safety was a priority under this management, and a valiant effort was put forth to distance Mountain Creek from Action Park's reputation. However, in 2010, Mountain Creek underwent a bankruptcy of its own, and the water park and ski resort was sold to the Mulvihill family. 2 years after this, in 2012, Eugene Mulvihill passed away, and his son Andrew Mulvihill took over ownership of the park. 2 years later, in 2014, Mountain Creek was rebranded back to Action Park. The park reopened many of its classic attractions, and started construction on new, terrifying ones.
Oh my god.
The Sky Caliber was another attempt at a 360-degree vertically looping water slide, although it used technology to enhance safety. From my knowledge, it is yet to open at the park, and there's almost no information on its status. The new Action Park tried to use nostalgia to draw guests back for 2 years, before in 2016 it was renamed back to Mountain Creek, in order to once again get away from the negative connotation of Action Park. Early this year it was announced that Johnny Knoxville would be producing, writing, and starring in a film inspired by Action Park, but it was not shot on location. Death is heartbreaking, especially in environments designed for happiness and joy. Despite 6 people losing their lives there, Action Park is not remembered for its death toll. It is remembered for and by the kids that grew up with it and survived it. It is seen as a place where the quote-unquote popular and brave teens hung out. The fact that it was referred to as Traction Park...
I mean, it looked popping. Like, there's always like large crowds and a lot of people on the ride, so yeah. It was very much a popular attraction.
Or Class Action Park doesn't matter, because its inherent danger is more of a fond memory to the majority of its visitors. The burns, bruises, and the fractured tibias were a rite of passage for its former guests. You think you're cool because you survived a tame roller coaster at Disney in California or at Universal in Florida? Well, welcome to Vernon, New Jersey. Were you able to survive Action Park?
That's funny. Send your Action Park stories.
Fun.
Nice job.
Wait, she's gonna go swim and get a microphone.
I love how they had test dummies coming out missing their heads and they still deemed the ride as safe. Yeah, that's insane. What the fuck? On one hand, test dummies aren't attached as friendly as human heads. On the other hand, a forced knock testing means they're gonna be pleasant for a human neck. That's a pretty bad omen. Yeah, true. First casualty, the young man who was killed in homicide in 1980 wasn't an employee of Action Park. This was a lie told to dodge officially reporting his death, which makes it even more horrific. Oh. Class Action Park? Oh, that's funny. I worked here as a teenager in the 80s, and oh man, the stuff that went on there. I was one of 3 working the Alpine slide, and that track was covered in blood stains the whole way down. Oh god. Ugh. Countless times a day, the sleds would come off the track or customers would slip off and get some of the most horrid skids and scrapes. All of us were smoking up, drinking, scurrying around in the bushes, etc. It was a fun summer, but none of us understood the gravity of how messed up the entire thing was. Jesus Christ, yeah, that sounds Horrifying, actually. Just blood marks on the ride. Ugh. They spent money on new emblems. Yeah. All right. Well, good video. Maybe I'll check out the movie.